Hey everyone, in this video I want to talk about men and eating disorders. If you want to control what you eat, control your body, and control your life, then hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video. As you know from previous videos, I have a long history of eating disorders. For 10 years I struggled with binging, overeating, purging, overexercising, chewing and spitting, you name it, I did it. You can go back and watch those previous videos on my story and the lessons that I learned from that story. So I think I'm well qualified to talk about this. I've gone from super skinny to really overweight, and I have the pictures to prove it. It was not a fun journey, but now I want to help other men who have the same problem. I think my first point is men get eating disorders too. It's not just females. I think there's this common misperception that it's only young females in high school and college who are doing gymnastics or track and field or these other weight dependent sports. Those are the only ones who get eating disorders. That's not true at all. There are men in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s who are dealing with eating disorders. For men, most of the time it's binge eating. It's usually not anorexia or bulimia, but it's some men do get that. I mean, I'm a case, right? Actually, I think eating disorders are more prevalent than they've ever been. There's more pressure to look good, but there's also more stimulation. What I mean is food is more abundant, it's tastier, and it's cheaper than ever, and they're always releasing new combinations of salt, sugar, and fat to make us buy more and eat more. My second point is the origins of eating disorders in men. For me, the origin of my eating disorder started when I was 20 or 21. I was in college. I didn't really know what I was doing, like most college students. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't know where I wanted to be. I didn't know what my future was. I didn't have any goals. I didn't know where I was going. I was just told to go to college, so I went to college. And I was majoring in geography of all things. And geography is not that bad, but I just didn't know what the next step was. Like, what am I going to do when I graduate? The same insecurities that a lot of college students have. But unlike most college students, I didn't have any social life. I was very isolated. I don't remember the name of a single classmate I went to school with. Not one, if you can believe that. Because I was so isolated. I was so introverted at the time. I'm way more extroverted today than I was then. It's hard to believe. I was that way. I had no customer service skills. There was no way in hell I would have done a YouTube channel back in 2007 or 2008. My point is, I had no friends. I was isolated, and I think that contributed to the problem. Not to say that if you have friends, you can't get an eating disorder or you can't be a binge eater. That's not true, but it definitely didn't help. I also didn't feel like I was doing anything right. I wasn't good at anything. I was very insecure. I had very little self-esteem. But one thing that I thought I could do better than anybody else was eat right. I thought I could be fitter and healthier than anybody else. Now, in that process, I ended up ruining my health. I was less healthy than most people. I had a good amount of fitness. I did a couple of triathlons. I did a half marathon in about an hour and 35 minutes, which isn't super fast. You're not going to win a trophy for that, but that's pretty fit, to run that far in that amount of time. But I remember going from one doctor's appointment to another. I had bleeding in my eye. I had no sex drive. I was anemic. I was taking testosterone supplements. I mean, it's easy. It's obvious now to see what the problem was. And I thought, oh, what is all these problems coming from? Well, when I made all these drastic changes in my diet, that's when I started to have all these problems. And it was just a total waste of time. It was so unnecessary. What I think is ironic is that on my way to health, I ended up destroying my health. Another contributor to my eating disorders, I think, was popular media. So I was a very voracious reader of health and fitness magazines like this. Actually, every issue is kind of the same. The issues that I was reading back in 08, 09, 2010, they're pretty much the same, right? Let's read. Drop 10 pounds the fastest way. Sweat better. Let's see. Best summer ever. Sex, ice cream, CBD, and beaches. Wow. Flex your soul and 15 muscle tips. It's all the same, right? You could get a 1 year subscription to something like this and then cancel it because the next year they're just going to print the same stuff. But I saw images like this, the big guy, I don't know this actor's name, Captain America or whatever. But I also saw magazines like this. Okay, so there's a guy here, looks ripped, that word. He's got big pecs, big delts, big traps, big everything. I don't want to look like that. I mean, his pecs look like man boobs. Who wants man boobs? But that's what a lot of guys are doing. I see them at the gym. They're doing bench press and all of these presses because they want big muscles up here. I think it's because they want to impress others. They want to impress other males and show how strong they are. They also want to impress other females. It's really just, we're all just a bunch of animals, really. We're animals with laptops and electronic devices, but in many ways we still act the same way that we acted 10, 20,000 years ago. But these magazines say get bigger, look younger, energized, stronger, leaner, sleeve busting arms. I don't know if I want sleeve busting arms. I just want to lift a little more. But I know there are a lot of men, especially young men, who are impressionable, who want that, and that's why they sell stuff like this. I don't want to blame popular media for eating disorders, but it definitely doesn't help. And they really have no choice. If they want to make profit, they have to show men like this on the front cover in order to sell magazines. They can't show men with regular bodies. I think another reason why I developed an eating disorder is because I just didn't want to get older. I was 20, 21, 22. I mean, nobody wants to get older. Nobody wants to lose life. We want as much life as possible. I totally get that. But I saw men in their 40s and 50s just in my own, periphery, and they were out of shape. They weren't lean. They didn't have good fitness. They were taking, beta blockers and other medications for blood pressure. I didn't want to be that. I think that really scared me because it just seemed inevitable. Like if you live in the Western world and you're 40 or 50, then you're not healthy. And that kind of scared me. So there was that element of fear that motivated me, and I was going to do everything possible to avoid that. Well, I ended up doing the opposite, right? I ended up destroying my health. I ended up losing too much weight, and I became anemic, and I had no testosterone in my body. That's what was ironic about it. I looked at other people and I would judge them. I would say, oh, well, at least I'm not like them. There was this element of superiority. Like I was doing something better than anybody else. And I think that's what I was looking for. I wanted to be better than other people because I wasn't doing anything else right. I had no other skills. I had no other talents. I wasn't very athletic. I had no social life, but at least I could say that I was healthier and fitter than everybody else. Why does it take so long to recover from these eating disorders? The thing about an eating disorder or any bad habit is that once it starts, it's really hard to stop it. Everything could be right in your life, and you could still have an eating disorder. Or any other kind of addiction. I mean, just go to Hollywood and look at all the actors there who are addicted to various drugs. They have everything you would possibly want, and they're still addicted to this stuff. But my life improved in my 20s. I had a better social life. I became more extroverted. I developed more skills. I went to grad school. I ended up getting my first professional job as a physical therapist. So a lot of good things were happening in my mid to late 20s. A lot of bad things too, but overall, my life was better at 25, 26, 27 than it was at 20 or 21. But I still had this problem, and the reason why is because once I had created those pathways, those networks in my head, it was really hard to stop them. So that's why I think environment and circumstances and happiness, they have nothing to do at all with eating disorders or addictions. It's not that at all. I don't think a lot of people continue their addiction because they're trying to fill some void in their life. I don't think it's that. I think it's just they started once in their life when there was a void, and once they started that process, it's really hard to stop it. If you've never had an addiction or any kind of disorder like this, it's kind of hard to understand. But it just becomes a lifestyle. It's almost like you need this disorder in order to exist. Like if it didn't exist, what would I do? What challenge would I have? What would be my New Year's resolution next year? What are some signs and symptoms that a man has an eating disorder? It's not always obvious. In my case, I lost a lot of weight. I looked horrible. I looked like a ghost in some photos. I look at photos from me when I was a senior in college, and it's like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But some men, they're actually really fit and really healthy, and they're purging in the background. I mean, I've heard stories like that. You can look healthy and have an eating disorder. I remember when I was like 25 or 26, and I had lost a little bit of weight through fasting, which is not a very good way to lose weight, but that's what I did. And people thought, and I always eat healthy in front of them. I never binge in front of other people. I never ate junk food in front of other people. I always kept it a secret, right? It was always something that I did on the side behind closed doors. And they would say, "Oh yeah, Kevin, you're looking good. You're looking fitter." They didn't realize what I was doing in the background. I was only doing that. I only looked fit because I was purging or fasting or denying myself the nutrients that I needed. They didn't know what I was doing in the background. So eating disorders can be kind of deceptive. Actually, fitness can be somewhat deceptive. Really fit, healthy people could actually be harming themselves in the background. So it's hard to tell. But even if a guy or even a gal exhibits signs of an eating disorder, there's not much you can do. The thing is, unless that person believes that he has a problem and he needs help, there's nothing you can do. You can't convince somebody to buy a solution to a problem that he doesn't think he has. I remember when I was really orthorexic, which is kind of like anorexia, but not really. It's just a super regimented form of eating. That was my first eating disorder. I didn't believe I actually had a problem. I actually thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was becoming healthier, and people around me were giving me feedback, and I just ignored the feedback. I thought they didn't want me to be fit because they weren't fit, and whatever. It was stupid thinking. I wasn't thinking right at the time. That's obvious now, but you can't help people unless they think they actually have a problem. So just um, just be gentle with people with eating disorders, because the more you talk about it and the more critical you are, the less likely they are to seek help. Just have the confidence to know that they will find the right resources, like this channel. Channels like this, they didn't exist when I was orthorexic and I started purging. There just wasn't information like this. I didn't know where to go. I think that was another problem. In terms of professional help, I don't think you necessarily need professional help. I remember when I was 23, 24, I saw a counselor. She was I don't know, 50 years old. She was from Taiwan. I forget her name. She was really sweet. I liked her. I don't know how much a 50-year-old woman can help a 23-year-old male. I mean, just totally different lives, right? But I enjoyed our talks, and I talked to her about some of the stupid beliefs that I had at the time. But I remember at the end of our last session, she said, "Kevin, I still think you have an eating disorder." And I didn't believe her at the time. I thought I was recovered. I thought I was healthy. I thought everything was going fine. And seriously, not a month later, I had my first binge. And it was my first binge, and that lasted another, oh gosh, 8 or 9 years after that before I recovered. I wish I could find her and say, you know what, you were right about that. My point is, you don't necessarily need professional help. You can seek it if you want. I think you can recover without it. I think the best thing to do is find somebody who has had the same problem and who has recovered. That's probably your best resource. I certainly didn't seek medical attention. I never considered inpatient rehab or medications or worse, surgery, something like that. So why do men get eating disorders? I think the obvious reason is because there's pressure. We live in this age of contradiction. On one hand, we value fitness and people who look fit. That's why we put them on magazine covers, right? We put rare things on magazine covers. So, hot chick like that, nice bikini, nice smile, nice, everything, right? Why? Because she's not typical. She's rare. We like to buy rare things. We buy diamonds. When you see an exotic car on the road. Today I saw a Ferrari on the road, and I kind of looked at it because you don't see a Ferrari every day. It's not your typical car. So people are attracted to rare things because they're scarce and they're more valuable. I think society tells men that real men have big muscles and they're strong and they're alpha males. I've seen fitness magazines that put, alpha male on the cover, and they show this big guy with all these big muscles and, mirror muscles. So there's pressure on men to look a certain way. What's ironic is that I've seen surveys that say that women don't really want that. What they want is just lean and fit. They're not looking for a guy who can bench press, 400 pounds. They're not looking for a giant dude like this guy. They're not looking for tons of muscle. That's what I think is kind of ironic. But Be that as it may, men want muscle. They want to be strong. They want to look and feel a certain way. Just like there's pressure on women to look a certain way. You know, they need to have a nice butt. They need to have a nice thighs, flat stomach, nice breasts. So the contradiction is we live in an age with more food that's cheaper, that's tastier, but we also live in an age that values health and fitness more. So it's like on the one hand, we want to be fit, but then on the other hand, we want to have all this tasty food and we want to press a button and have it delivered to our home. What happens is when men try to achieve this ideal, they go to drastic measures like I did. They start restricting calories, they don't eat what they should, they skip meals, or they start taking tons of supplements, or they start over exercising. Also, that they can impress people that don't care about them. Now, how did I finally recover from all this? You can watch previous videos on how I recovered from eating disorders and binge eating. I would just say focus on the small decisions. For years, I kept waiting for the ideal moment, the ideal circumstances. I kept waiting for that perfect moment to come, and it never came. In fact, I'm still waiting for that perfect moment. I finally realized that, and so I started to focus on those small decisions. I didn't believe that I had to completely change in one day. That was another problem, is that I thought I could be really bad one day and then the next day I had to be perfect forever. That's a lot of pressure to say that you can never make another mistake again. So I just started making better decisions, like one decision at a time. I stopped chasing that overnight transformation. It doesn't happen like that. You need to focus on those small decisions. And over time, those small decisions lead to a lot of change. When you focus on those small decisions, you stop procrastinating. If I told you all you had to do tomorrow was make one more good decision, that's it. One more tomorrow. You could probably do that. And then if I told you the next day, just make one more good decision, you could do that. But if I told you that you had to be perfect starting tomorrow, you would probably procrastinate. I didn't completely change my diet. What I ate during my recovery was the same stuff that I ate when I was a binge eater. I wasn't eating it in the same quantities as before, and that was the main difference. I didn't adopt some clean diet. I didn't like go vegan. I didn't do paleo or keto. I didn't do any juice cleansing. I just ate regular normal food. I ate some of it was whole food, some of it was processed food. That wasn't the key. The key was awareness. What was I eating and why was I eating it? I hope this video helps. If you haven't already, visit my website, saneaters.com. There is some free training there that will show you how to stop overeating, stop binge eating, and conquer cravings for good. If you want to speak with me personally, there is a link in the description box below. And don't forget to check out some of my previous videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.